Humanity is a stain on the universe. A blemish on an otherwise perfect configuration of shapes, colors, and life. We are capable of far more than we ever should have been, and we aren't the first. Every species that has reached this same level of self-evaluation and inner monologue that wasn't supposed to has destroyed itself. I fear we are doomed to do the same. Consciousness is an idea that most of humanity knows so little about. But I and few others have seen the truth. We've seen what it is supposed to be used for. Humans use it the same way a porn addict uses the internet, for the worst and most self-serving purposes. In fact, the internet might be the best analogy to equate consciousness to. It is in fact a large field, invisible and constantly spouting outward from its sources like a fountain. I've witnessed consciousness's sources. You may already think me insane. Write me off as a lunatic in a field of similar crazies on this damned website. But if not, allow me to let you in on this little-known secret. I am something of a scientist. No Willem Dafoe, but definitely an archaeologist. By now, I'm sure you're wondering how a rock expert could come to know more about consciousness than the scientists who actually study the mind and brain. It started in Siberia, funny enough, snowy, and full of surprisingly friendly communists who welcomed me and my team with warm arms and even warmer stew. We were there to primarily explore the validity of biblical accuracy. That is to say, we were there to see if we can find any relics that may link to biblical stories and prove them as truth. Perhaps our exploration's goal to turn faith into truth is what led to our horrific findings. Perhaps our own hubris has, and always will be, what leads us to the undesired truth. Regardless, it was in the large and mostly unexplored Siberian mountains that me and my team of 4 discovered a large pit, caked in snow. One of my men mentioned the possibility of it being linked to Benaiah's lion's slaying incident, as mentioned in the Bible. The story suggests that he chased a lion all the way to a large pit on a snowy day wherein he slayed said lion. At least that's the gist of it. Upon our arrival in the center of said pit, metal detectors and shovels in hand, we began to plummet down a large tube-like chute that the earth had formed of rock and sediment. We slid down this winding tube for what felt like an eternity before landing on a soft formation within the largest cave I had ever seen. Luckily, the squishy texture upon which we had landed helped break our fall, as well as the very large amount of snow that had once filled the pit above. "Why did I have to fall under the fat ass?" one of my crew members asked as he was squished between the weight of one of my other, more heavy-set, crew members and the squishy soft texture of the material below us. I refused to acknowledge him, however, becoming transfixed upon the texture of what lay just below our feet. "I need a pick, we should sample this. I've never seen anything like it," I uttered to my cohorts as they all gathered themselves and collect the equipment they had once been carrying but had become lost during our impossibly long fall. My plan was to stab at the material below my feet, which expanded for miles in every direction, to collect samples for study. The cave followed suit, and left plenty of space between the ceiling and what lay below our feet. Escape from this situation was going to be difficult. Collecting samples of this material also became an impossibility as I began to realize it was pulsing, breathing. It was alive. No. It was part of a living being. We seemed to be standing on the organ of a living organism, deep within the earth. Impossibly deep. As I made this realization is when one of my men began to freak the fuck out, clutching his skull like a bowling ball that was rolling fast towards a young loved one. As well as screaming, a terrifying screech that yanked me from my fixation on where we were and allowed me to offer him the attention he deserved. Placing a hand on his shoulder as I pulled my flask from its pouch on my waist to offer to him, water being our only solution to any affliction this far out in the mountains, let alone this deep in the earth's crust. He ignored all attempts to reach him and question him, clutching his own head like it was about to fall off as he flailed back and forth, even falling to his own knees as he ignored all attempts to comfort him. The rest of my crew and I were all dumbfounded, not only by our surroundings but by this man's reaction to our entry. "We need to get out of here, now," one of my men said as, looking me dead in the eyes. I had looked in his direction the moment he started to speak, hoping he would offer solutions to our current predicament. Upon realizing that I was the boss, the leader of this expedition, I began to reach clumsily for my radio to try and contact our external support at the edge of the Siberian mountain range. I must have maxed out my luck stat and character creation because somehow, even though we were seemingly thousands of miles below the Earth's surface based on the length of our fall, my radio call went through. They heard every word. "This is Team Armstrong. We need immediate deep cave evac. I repeat, deep cave evac. Do you read, Alamo? Copy, Armstrong. Alamo to the rescue." It was a reply so immediate that it shocked me. How was our signal carrying that far out to the surface when we were seemingly thousands, no, hundreds of thousands of miles below the surface? My thoughts strayed to how they would even get us out of this situation. Sure, we had trackers on us, but there is no way they tracked this far into the Earth. Our last known location at the surface of the pit, maybe a few miles down, maybe. But not our current location. My thoughts were interrupted by the surroundings for any sight of danger in our immediate area. One of my men said as, looking me dead in the eyes. I had looked in his direction the moment he started to speak, hoping he would offer solutions to our current predicament. Upon realizing that I was the boss, the leader of this expedition, I began to reach clumsily for my radio to try and contact our external support at the edge of the Siberian mountain range. I must have maxed out my luck stat and character creation because somehow, even though we were seemingly thousands of miles below the Earth's surface based on the length of our fall, my radio call went through. They heard every word. "This is Team Armstrong. We need immediate deep cave evac. I repeat, deep cave evac. Do you read, Alamo? Copy, Armstrong. Alamo to the rescue." It was a reply so immediate that it shocked me. How was our signal carrying that far out to the surface when we were seemingly thousands, no, hundreds of thousands of miles below the surface? My thoughts strayed to how they would even get us out of this situation. Sure, we had trackers on us, but there is no way they tracked this far into the Earth. Our last known location at the surface of the pit, maybe a few miles down, maybe. But not our current location. My thoughts were interrupted by the member of our team who had been flailing and struggling, now deciding to scream something. Something I will never forget. "We aren't supposed to be here." In the moment I was worried he had realized something about the impossibly large cave system we found ourselves in. The impossibly squishy rock that sat below our feet. I now realize he was being sent messages about our state of mind. Our consciousness. The way that we as humans are able to think and feel. We were never supposed to be here. But in our current panic state, I decided to rush to his side, sitting down and wrapping my arms around him as he continued to clutch his skull and rock back and forth. The rest of my team scanned our surroundings for any sight of danger in our immediate area. "It's gonna be alright, Alamo is on the way." My words offered no comfort to the distressed and panicked team member who continued to rock to and fro as he clutched his own head. I could even hear him muttering small and almost silent words between his screams. "Help! Forgive us! Please! I get it," were all the words I could make out in his panic state as he spoke under his breath. Becoming increasingly curious about our surroundings, I couldn't help myself but to grab a pick off the ground and walk a small distance away from my crew before plunging it deep in the organ-like texture that rested below our feet. As soon as I did, my entire team and I could feel the reaction, a large and violent pulse that knocked us all off our feet, except for the panicked member of my team who had been on his knees for quite some time. He remained kneeling, but upon the pulse he decided to utter the following words. "Can't you hear it?" A collection of words that perplexed me. Hear what? There were no bats, critters, or any living beings besides us in this cave. Or so it seemed. It only took moments before I understood what he meant. Still laying down after being knocked to my feet, I began to hear something. Not a voice, not a sound. Or at least, not any sound I recognized from my 45 years on this earth so far. It was a constant drumming. Pitter-patter. 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 Consonant, unstopping within my own head. No source of the noise to be found, for it was in our own heads. Everyone heard it. The worst part being that we all knew what it meant, what the drumming translated to. Get out. Leave here. Get out. Leave here. Was all we really heard in our own heads as the drumming became a constant. A constant annoyance considering mine and my team's urge to clutch our own heads in comfort, the same way the one member had before. I began to clutch at the small amount of fleshy rock that I had previously picked out before, the reason behind my own and the rest of the team's insanity. As I clutched it in my hands, I heard voices and saw visions for enough time to fill the lifetime of 1,000,000 people. Enough information that one single brain could never hold. Information about the formation of our universe, how it is but a single cell in a larger organism, the same way a single cell in our body contains many parts, but it is still a single part of a larger singular system. I received visions of the planets in our universe. These visions decided to zoom in instead of out, for which I am grateful. According to these visions, every planet in our solar system is similar to that of a cell part. Not an entire cell, but rather a part. The entire system being the whole cell to help make up the being. What kind of being? I don't know and I don't want to, like I said. I'm glad it zoomed in, not out. I might have gone properly insane had it zoomed out. Each planet made up a single part of the cell. And we were toying with the core, the nucleus of the cell. The cell that gives us our consciousness. The thing that we managed to somehow leech onto like barnacles. The source of our consciousness is Earth itself. Only it was never meant to give it to us. According to what me and my crew saw during our short fit deep in that cave, the way that we think and feel is very similar to the way that entire planets think and feel. The way that celestial bodies tend to think and feel. Lowly ants such as us were never meant to think and feel to this extent. Obviously, we made it out of that impossibly large, impossibly deep cave. Our rescue team Alamo discovered us after several hours and found us all in the same state that the one member of my team started off upon entering the cave. Panicked and clutching our skulls while muttering almost silent apologies. I don't know how they got us out, or why they asked no questions about the very odd cave system we had found ourselves in. But we all knew what we had found. My team and I have barely spoken about it since. Hence why I'm here talking to you. Hoping this post reaches enough people to let you all know one single thing. We aren't supposed to be here.